All right, we do have 10 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order and we will rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, thanks everybody for showing up today on this fine, cool morning. And well, actually, it's warming up, so we'll take it. I don't know, I don't feel sorry for anybody in a warmer spot, but sounds too much better where you guys are. So at least I know where Tui are. I don't know where JJ is. Maybe it's warm there. So but otherwise, yeah, we will start with public forum. We do have a few people here from the public. I don't know if anybody wants to talk in person here. Yep, you can go first. State your name and where you live.
Hi, Joe Zappa with Urba at 7440 Cabin Drive. Want to lead off by just saying a lot of times it's said the media covers the crash and not the landings. A couple of weeks ago, the local newspaper decided to create a crash out of what has been a relatively successful landing of a cannabis business here in Pine County. I'm proud to say we've invested over $1 million in the community with local vendors like Ramberg Excavation, Excel Concrete, Finnerty Construction, TCAM Plumbing, Matson Electric, Deutschlander Fence, all local businesses. We've used all local vendors. We've hired a little more than 10 people here locally and are paying a very fair wage along with 401k benefits and healthcare. Point being is the newspaper article inferred that the county's ordinance was weak and or not being enforced properly. It also inferred that we were scofflaws and not meeting the compliance. I want to thank Kelly and Aaron for doing the research. I know you were copied on a letter that she found a statement of facts. Thank you, Kelly and Aaron, for coming and doing the work and looking at facts associated with our property and how we're trying to meet the compliance. We've reached out to the sheriff, invited him for a tour as well. He's open to that, which I'm appreciative of, to make sure that we're meeting all his security concerns. We will continue to invest in the community and run what we consider to be the finest operation in the state. Should be noted that when the OCM inspector came out to review our property, one of his final comments was, Joe, we want to bring other inspectors up here to show them what compliance looks like. So we will strive to improve. We appreciate your commitment to following the facts and enforcing the law. We intend to meet that, if not exceed your expectations as we continue forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. When did the OCM inspector come out?
When we came out twice, so we first got licensed, I want to say October 3rd. And then he was out one other time to express and review the lights, receiving complaints.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? And come on up.
Denise Weiss, Graston. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the newspaper. They did a very well printed article, and what they expressed and what the lights are is exactly what the residents have been complaining about and what we are seeing. I haven't spoken in the month of January. I was kind of waiting to see how our complaints had worked through and what the final verdict was from the county, which arrived on the 23rd of January. A couple of things that I want to note that's in this, in the complaint itself, in the facts and findings that they did on the 23rd. It says additionally, the prior owner operator indicated that while some newer grow lights produce different hues, many of the lights currently used are the same lights that were there for approximately 15 years with no, in which no complaints were ever received. Number one, that is false. There were complaints. I complained right to Les Orvis, who is here. He was part of our planning and zoning at the time. But second of all, I asked for the description of the permit. And from the files that I received from the county, On the same day that I received the facts and findings, this is the preliminary operation plan that URBA sent in to the state of Minnesota. And it states in here, currently, house number 4 is equipped with 160 600-watt HPS lights. I believe they're sodium lights. Once license is acquired, we plan to integrate 336 additional 400-watt LED fixtures to bring the total up to 510 par. So you have 96,000 watts. You're going to add an additional 134,000 watts. That equals 230,000 watts in greenhouse number 4 alone. One greenhouse. It also states this will allow for year-round production of cannabis in greenhouse number 4. No other greenhouses have lights at this time. The LEDs will be added upon demand. No other greenhouses out of 11 greenhouses, greenhouse number 4 has lights. None of them have lights. Now we know at least greenhouse number 5, which is a 4-bay also, has lights. This is a huge, huge increase on lights and light pollution. It states it right in the paperwork. And this is what the county has had all along. This is what was turned in by URBA to the state of Minnesota. So to tell us and the neighbors that we are being, wishy-washy on the lights is ridiculous. I know Steve Hallen mentioned in the last meeting with the state that wasn't live streamed that sometimes we make bad votes and we have to own those votes and change those, because that's what you're asking the state of Minnesota to do with the HHS thing. You guys made bad votes on this, and we're asking because we are affected downstream by this. That's what we're asking you guys to put in light mitigation, put in the odor mitigation.
All right, that's 3 minutes. Thank you. Anybody else in the public here? Yeah. Okay.
Hi, folks. My name's Les Orvis, Royalton Township. Been up here before. My name was called out today under duress because they're not getting their way. It's that simple. We've been through the light thing. We did pass this through Royalton. The consequences was me getting my butt canned out there because I don't listen to people, but I followed the law. The paper said I am for cannabis. The paper never asked me my opinion. Unprecedented. I'm for the law. I'm not for anything else. So I'll go into something that the paper printed in here. When you look under Rule 98, 10, 1500, some 10, they complained about the lights. Well, the lights, it states this in that administrative rule. If you look into that, it's grasping. The rule is for the security of the business. It's not for the lights of the grow. Again, printed wrong negligently. That's been happening for 2.5 years. We're not listening. Everybody's been out there. Everybody understands it. I got a whole bunch of notes I wrote on this letter from Royalton Township, which you're going to look at. When is it the county's job to respond to the township because they demand it? Part of the thing under this thing is they wanted to be sent back from the county so they can put in their interpretation to the law. They got to figure out where they sit in the law. They're not above the county. They need to realize where they're at. They're lazy, unprecedented lazy, and uneducated. And that's the way I'm sticking to this. We did a good job. I'm sticking to this. The lights are the lights. I've heard from the Wise family that they didn't move to the country to put up with these lights. They moved there in 2004. The lights were there before that. Let's put things in perspective. Always look at the backstory. Have a good day, folks.
All right, anybody else from public here? All right, seeing none, nothing online. All right, we'll move into adopt the agenda. Is there any additions or corrections?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, there is 2 items, under item F for the minutes of boards, committees, and correspondence. We're just adding the draft minutes of the Pine County Housing and Redevelopment Authority and Economic Development Authority from January 28th. And then additional information for regular agenda item number 2 is just a copy of the minutes from that meeting.
All right. we got a motion for the,
I'll move the approval agenda with the changes.
okay,
I'll second.
got a motion by Holland, second by Ludwig. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Deb, you can call the roll.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldham,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludwig,
Aye.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, approve the minutes of the January 2026 regular county board meeting and summary for publication, and minutes of the January 27, 2026 special meeting committee of the whole.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Nelson made the motion, second by Ludwig. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, go ahead, Deb.
Commissioner Waldham,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, acknowledge the minutes of the boards, committees, and correspondence, the Pine County Land Surveyors Monthly Report, and the Royalton Township Board Supervisors correspondence. And then we got the additional minutes of the boards, committees, and correspondence.
I'll move that. Holland.
Motion by Holland,
Second.
second by Nelson. All right, discussion. So we did receive this letter from Royalton Township's attorney. I think you just wanted to kind of go over a few things, right?
Sure, yeah, I just wanted to clarify just a couple things within the letter. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I just wanted to note the breakdown in communication. I guess I was a little bit surprised by that because I did not recall saying that I would follow up with them after the site visit, anything different. And so I don't know where that came from. I will acknowledge that they did, within number 2, it says the township attorney attempted to follow up with the administrator regarding the site visit to no avail, which in an email to him, I did acknowledge his one voicemail he left, and acknowledged that if he wanted further discussion after the letter, which I felt addressed his, the findings letter felt like I addressed his concerns, what he wanted to talk about. But in that email, I followed up and said, if this doesn't address your voicemail, please let me know and we can talk on the phone. So, the no avail is a little bit surprising. And really the rest of it really comes down to, I felt that my findings were based on fact, and didn't need to be influenced by outside influence. And so I guess I'm a little bit surprised by the findings or by the letter, because I didn't feel that I had said that I wanted additional input into what my findings were going to be. But I'm happy to take any direction from the board as to how, if you would like to move forward differently. I know Commissioner Moore had further follow-up with them after the letter.
Yeah, I did reach out to both the supervisors that signed the letter. I talked to Jeff. Pete never called me back. And I think there was just maybe a little miscommunication, very cordial conversation. We had thought to try to maybe schedule a meeting with me and Kelly and Aaron, with one or a couple of their board members just to chat. They wanted to do it tonight, but we got a bunch of stuff. I can't make it, Kelly can't make it. So we're kind of ongoing to just have that open communication. I think some of the frustration parts is you hear, everybody hears stuff from somebody, but not the actual people. And that's kind of what I wanted to communicate to them is, if you got an issue, everybody's got each other's phone numbers, reach out or emails or something like that. So, so it was good. This was by no means, I think the letter was a little caught. The way it came across maybe wasn't what they wanted conveyed either. So we'll see. we'll just keep you in the loop on that, but I don't know if anybody else has got any other questions or comments or whatever.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the Kelly Schroeder, you refer to Kelly, so I assume that's her. The Aaron person you mentioned or somebody mentioned, I apologize. Who's that? Aaron, whom?
Our zoning, person.
Yeah, Aaron Gustafson, our environmental.
Aaron
service
Gustafson,
manager.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
I would encourage you to, that's a good idea. Sit down, have a face-to-face with the town board and, make sure everybody understands where each position is.
I don't know how soon it's gonna happen, just.
Yeah,
because-
it'll happen. It's tough to get 4 or 5 people in the same room at the same time, I know.
Yes, it is. So that's, I don't know. Anybody else got any comments, questions, direction? I don't think like with any of our other stuff, I would say, what am I trying to say? The sheriff contracts with townships and cities. So does the county attorney. I don't think typically they take, anytime they do something, it goes back and forth, like they have input. Or the ones we do the zoning for, or anything like that. So I think that's just, and I'm sure that was conveyed when they handed it over, but I don't know. We'll just,
And
we'll read it.
as I have noted with these zoning complaints, I have handled them very similar to any, like, we do get zoning complaints on a weekly basis for various other properties and issues, and so this was, I attempted not to handle this any differently than any other zoning complaint, but I did copy everyone on the response because I know that you've been hearing things about the complaints, just so you guys could see that closed loop.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just want to say thank you for the update and the follow-up. And it sounds to me like we have an open line of communication, so let's just see what happens after that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we do have a motion and a second. We do need a vote. Is there any other discussion on this before we send it to vote? Hearing none, go ahead, Deb.
Commissioner Ludwig,
Aye.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes,
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to consent agenda. We had some additional information on there.
Ludwig will move consent, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Got a motion by Ludwig,
Holland will second.
second by Holland. Discussion. I just wanted to say, I asked Kelly if that was a lot of abatements for fire loss, or seemed like a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, they're not all fire loss, or maybe they are. all
Yeah,
fire.
they're all fired.
Yeah, they're all fire.
So seems like a lot, but she said some of them date back to 24 as well, because they can get an abatement for 2 years on it before they reassess. So, but yeah. Otherwise, any other discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, go ahead.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes,
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldham,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, on to the regular agenda. Technology Committee report.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll do my best here. Ryan might have to fill in, but, we met, last week, I believe, but anyway, we have some servers, our GIS server and our disaster recovery servers are basically at end of life, and I think we all understand that if we have cars, trucks, equipment, they have a end of life at some point, and I know if it's an old pickup, we just keep driving it. Unfortunately, in the server world or computer world, when the things have an end of life and you get no more support for them, you really put yourself at risk. So Those are in plan for updates this calendar year, 26. We had an update on the EVA project, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit about HHS, but that's the AI phone answering system that is going to be deployed in HHS. And just know that our tech people are working with that, so it'll work seamlessly with our system, and it relies a lot on our data that we have on our website, so we have to make sure that that is correct. My favorite old piece of machinery, facetiously, is called an AS400. It's been a workhorse for, gosh, I don't know, Ryan, 30 years. It's been obsolete for 15 probably. We found some people to offer us some kind of support for it over the last. We don't have much running on it right now, but that will go away. And so I think there's some people in IT that'll be happy about that. Our virtual infrastructure, these are things that are kind of over my head. When I got out of the IT world, virtual servers and such were just coming on the horizon. But that's the world we live in. As if I'm explaining this wrong, Ryan, let me know. But anyway, they're on their way out, the virtual system we have. So we have some choices. We could either buy standalone servers, which would set us back, I believe, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time we bought all the servers. And the virtual format, we're not quite ready to step into that world yet. So we bought a contract that will give us support. Is it 3 years, Ryan, that we'll have support at approximately 12,000 a year, 12.4, I guess. So that'll keep us in business for a while. That's kind of it, I believe. Anything else, Ryan?
Nope. All right.
No?
Need any action on this? Okay. Well, I appreciate it. I didn't make it that morning, so thanks for filling in and giving a good report there. So, all right, so we'll move on. Anybody got any questions about that? I suppose I could ask. No? Okay. We'll move on to Health and Human Services Advisory Committee.
You want to start out, Matt, or you want me
Yeah,
to?
I'll start it. Yep.
Okay,
You can fill in if I miss something.
all right.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start off with the turnover. Becky advised us on the turnover for last year is running about 9% from their staff across it. And some were forced and I shouldn't say forced, some were voluntary. And others were just moving on for more money. And I think the ones that have earning average like $15 an hour more. And some were from the downsizing. So anyway, that was part of the overall plan in making our budget too. And then the North Pine Government Center, the implementation of not having the person there on the information desk, whatever you want to call it. So it's a close. That is going better than expected. Of course, there's always a few bumps in the road. I had a couple emails on that, but that was it. And that was actually the same person 2 different times. But so I haven't had any. So that, and Pine City is still in person. They have a person there. So it's appointment only, and it works just fine, kind of like it did in COVID.
I think Part of the success, we have to give our hats off to our VSO office and our WIC office, because they're kind of in the front there. And so if somebody comes and has a question that may not relate to VSO or WIC, and they push the button, somebody from one of those offices goes and helps them. And most of what they're doing is they got to drop off some paperwork. They're just unsure, is this where I really drop it off? Yes, it is, because that's what they were doing before. So it's I think I'm fairly happy with how it's going so far. We'll keep playing it by ear, and so they monitor it pretty regular. So they're concerned also.
Yeah, I agree. Time will tell, right? If it's
Yeah.
faulting and
Yep.
if calls pick up there, we'll have to deal with it when it happens or whatever. We can handle what's there. But I
Yeah.
think right now it's working. And then Becky updated us on the EVA project. That's that tech project for when there'll be a virtual voice that handles the call-ins and stuff like that. They had their kickoff meeting on the 29th of January. And from this point on, there's going to be weekly meetings on Mondays. And they hopefully in 6 to 8 weeks, they'll have it kind of roughed in and see how that's working. So that's a good thing. And then restructuring highlights, behind the scene works. Information on that is kind of amazing when they restructured that and what they did. The departments have learned that the knowledge kind of goes between them all, so they're not so siloed anymore. So they're working more efficiently between each other. So that's a good thing. And then budget considerations, that a lot's coming at us there that we have to learn, like in the act. We all know about the act that's coming at us, and the age of delinquency is 13 years old. So anyone under 13 is going to be dealt with more in social services than law enforcement. If even on, I don't know how they're going to differentiate on crimes and seriousness of crimes, but it's going to uptick the workload in health and human services. So that's more to come on that. And then another good highlight is Barb Schmidt got the MSSA Social Services Supervisor of the Year Award. And there's been an increased participation in the Project Lifesaver program there. So that's all good. And then Patrick updated some things, Steve, and maybe you can help me here on the Medicaid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The legislation calls for some cost shifts, and those cost shifts are going to happen, if I'm not lying, in 27, the big major part of them. And so there's some things that we might get fed through AMC, through Patrick, through Becky, to help us educate our legislators on how those cost shifts can be kind of a little bit mitigated, at least with some money that can get drawn out of some other cost saving budgets, and so that will help. But it's certainly a concern for all of us. Those waivered services are a big part of our budget, a big part of HHS's budget, and so if those cost shifts.
Yeah, was there a work requirement on that? That's going to be twice a year then? So it's kind of
That's the big thing is now they have to check in once a year. They have to audit those people, and now the going forward, they're going to have to do it twice a year.
Right.
And so that's twice as much work. And so that, with the same amount of people, it's almost an impossible task. And it's a lengthy process. It's not just call up somebody and say, "You still working?" "Yep," and hang up the phone. It's a long, arduous process. So maybe we can help mitigate some of that.
And then Steve brought up when we were going through we having our conversation there, he said, can we get an update on the fraud and the fraud prevention work that's happening in the county? So that's gonna come, hopefully we'll get some updated information there in our next meeting.
Yep.
And then, we don't know what's gonna be happening. It's gonna be a moving target here. So Steve and I both said if something comes up and we need to have an emergency meeting, that's just fine, because we may have to hammer out some money issues there. So that is always on the table. We supported the staff there. So anything else fill in, Steve?
No, except to encourage anybody on the board, if you hear something that doesn't quite ring a bell, get a hold of Matt or I and or Becky probably. Becky and Barb and Patrick and the rest of the supervisors are really good at their job. They're exceptional. We've had 2 supervisors of the year come from Pine County in the last 2 years, so it tells you the caliber of people we have working for us. And so we need to keep ourselves as informed as we can, because I think when we talk about budget busters, this has the potential of cracking us wide open. If we can stay on top of it the best we can, we're going to be way ahead of the game.
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I do have a question regarding, and I'm glad, Steve, that you did bring up the fraud issue. And of course, we know that there's systemic fraud that's happening at a bigger level, and then we don't necessarily deal with that per se at the county level so much. But it is definitely a hot topic. And so my question is there a way that all of us can be involved in hearing that firsthand somehow?
Yes. And that's what we're working on, Roger. So our team can put together a pretty comprehensive report so all the board members can know what's going on, because I believe there's a big chasm between reality and what people perceive as far as fraud in Pine County. Anyway, I think that's our goal anyway, Roger. And it's not going to happen next week, but it'll happen.
Okay. Any other questions for these guys? All right. So we'll move on to the county board operating guidelines. We did go over this last at the committee of the whole. I think you had a few updates maybe.
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. On the board request, I did note that I had incorporated the comments from the committee of the whole in the draft. Additionally, after the meeting, Deb and I were looking at some information from another county and noticed on their public forum, they have a guideline that notes that it is unacceptable for any speaker at the public forum to slander or engage in character assassination at a public board meeting. And so that felt like it was an okay item to add into that public forum guidelines in section 4, item H. So we did add that in. And then additionally, since the meeting came out, the county attorney did have some time to look through the document, and he has a number of suggested changes. And I don't know if you guys want to walk through those. They are really technical things. They aren't like substantive. They don't change the intent. It really is a couple typos and then some statutory changes, reference changes. Which we can talk through those if you'd like. Otherwise, I can incorporate them into the document. However you'd like to proceed.
Well, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
If we want to adopt this today, I would say that he needs to go, we need to have our county attorney go through those lines. Otherwise, if we're gonna adopt it at a later date, then it's fine. And if you're just saying these are technical ones, I'm okay with going through that today.
Yeah, I think there's just one piece that we would need some feedback on. Otherwise, they're really technical changes, and we can just talk through them if you'd
Yeah.
like.
Let's do it.
So the first item is on the top of page 6 of the document. The very top paragraph says, at any time throughout the year, the county board may amend the operating guidelines by an affirmative vote of the members. And so the county attorney just had a question of, is that quorum of the members? Is that what does that affirmative vote mean, really? And does that mean that every member needs to vote yes? Is that just a majority of members? What is that? What is an affirmative vote of the members? And so that was the one question, really, and then the rest of it is technical.
Would that be like a super majority or a full majority, or what do you?
Right, what would you guys want that to be?
Well, I think just about everything that we've acted on, a simple majority rules, and I would hope we could not get to that. So it was 3-2. I was hoping, I would hope most of us could agree that we would have, this is our guidelines, our moral compass, so to speak. So, but I think a simple majority, to me, is okay. I could listen to somebody else's.
No, I'm fine
Yeah.
with that.
I would say that's what I was kind of thinking too. And how do you reword that? Do you just specify that?
Right, I think rather than affirmative vote, it just says a simple majority vote of
Okay.
the members.
Okay. And that's a passing vote of a quorum, correct? So at least 3, and then.
Well, not necessarily 3, because it could be whatever.
quorum of the board.
Right, a quorum of.
But
the
I
board.
mean, as long as you had 3 commissioners and it passed.
Mhm.
So, okay. Yeah. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
We'll make that change.
On page 7, under compensation, which is item F. The second little paragraph, which is just one sentence, says the mileage reimbursement, and then that word, I think it says "for," that should be taken out. It should just say the mileage reimbursement shall be actual miles traveled. So that's just a clerical correction there, that it just deleting the word "for" in that paragraph.
Okay.
Additionally, just in that third paragraph, the second sentence says expense forms may be completed on a monthly basis. However, they must be submitted no later than 60 days of after the month. And it should just say no later than 60 days after the end of the month. So there's just some extra words in there. So taking of the out of there
Okay.
and adding a then.
Later.
Must be submitted no later than 60 days after the end of each month.
Okay.
You want me to repeat that?
Sure.
Okay. Expense forms may be completed on a monthly basis, however, must be submitted no later than 60 days after the end of each month, is what it will say.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's clean. That cleans that up nice.
Yep.
Yep.
Next, is top of page 9. The bullet point on the top of page 9 references Minnesota statute 13D.01. But the county attorney pointed out that there is also permitted reasons in 13D.03 and 13D.05. So he would just like to add those references in
Perfect.
there.
Okay.
Additionally, down in item E on that same page under special and emergency meetings, in that second paragraph, it notes publication of the notice in the official newspaper, and then in parentheses, it says Minnesota statute 471.705. That statute is it was repealed, and so the new statute reference should be 13D.04. So just replacing that statute reference with the current one.
All right.
Okay.
Moving on to page 10 at the very bottom under item I, remote meetings. Again, just a correction to that statutory reference. It currently says 13.02A, and that should be 13D.015. So just a correction in that statutory reference.
All right.
Page 12. Under item M, County Administrator, in the numbered list, numbers 1 through 5, it's using the tense of, number 1 says makes regular entries, number 2 says records the vote. The county attorney believes it should just say make regular entries and record the vote. Rather than preserves, it should say preserve. So all down the list, just rather than having the S at the end, just have it the singular version of make, record, preserve, certify, perform.
Okay.
And then the other just kind of overall item is just that the way that the statutory references are written, he just would like them written differently.
Correctly.
Correctly.
Correctly. Okay.
So that's throughout the whole document, basically. I think it says MS maybe before each one. Well, and then maybe it changes throughout the document a little bit. And you would like it to say,
For a section, it should say Minnesota statutes section, and then the section number. If it's a chapter, it's just Minnesota statutes chapter and then chapter number, just to be consistent throughout the document.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. So with that, is everybody in okay with this operating guidelines? Or do we want to have a little more discussion on it?
I think it's great.
It gives us something to kind of go off of, and I've had some discussions about different things, and people are like, well, do you guys have a code of ethics, and do you guys have a operating guideline? And we're like, well, no, we don't. So what you guys put together, and I think is really good. And it does give us some sort of framework to operate on. So I think it's helpful and gives staff a little bit of guidance as well. So what they can expect from the board and go from there. So I don't know. We do need to pass it. If we're gonna do it, we'll need a motion and a second on it. So,
I'll move it, Mr. Chair.
okay. Ludwig.
I'll second.
All right. Second by Waldham. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Will this be posted on the commissioner page or our website then, so that it's readily available not only to us but to the public?
absolutely.
Okay.
Great.
And I did hear as well, like Commissioner Ludwig had asked for a paper copy,
Sure.
as well, once it's all revised. So, and I suppose we should probably have a few paper copies available in case somebody wants them.
Sure.
So, yeah. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, go ahead, Deb.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldham,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludwig,
Aye.
Commissioner Holland.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll go on to the number 4, 2025 fourth quarter budget report. I think that's you.
That's me.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So you had my report along with the graphs, the regular graphs in the packet, and we do have the graphs on the screen as well. Chart number 1 just shows revenue expenditure in each major fund. Again, this is as of December 31st, so that's as of the year being complete, with a little asterisk on that. So our accrual period goes through the end of March. So as invoices are still coming in that was for expenses from 2025, or on the flip side, as revenues still come in that were from 2025, these numbers continue to change throughout the end of March. So this is a snapshot in time as of truly when we ended the year where things are at. When you get the actual audit in late summer, early fall, all of those things will be captured in it because those are still trickling in. But overall, chart number 1 shows each of those major funds: general fund, HHS, road and bridge, and then a total of all funds. And you will note that expenditures for each of the major funds are below 100%. Overall, the overall county is above 100%. However, given that the revenues are significantly over 100%, that's not a concern. A lot of times what happens is we receive a grant partway through the year, for example, and so you've got revenues that come to match the increased expenses. And then I do want to just call out road and bridge because of course their revenues look significantly higher than what was projected in the budget. And that is just due to those Highway 123 turnback funds, which were a very important key of making that road and bridge fund really stable. Chart number 2. Chart number 2 shows the revenue in the general fund by department. So the bar graph is again through December 31st, and then there's the black line, and that's the 5-year average as of December, as of the end of the year. I do want to note that if you look at the graph, planning and zoning, again, this is revenues. Planning and zoning looks higher than what it has over the past years, and is significantly over 100%. And that is due to an extra additional revenue from a low income septic grant that we received. So typically we receive somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000 a year for the low income septic grants. But last year we actually received $200,000. So it was just, it's a smaller revenue budget. And then when you receive an extra revenue like that, it really makes it show significantly higher than normal. And then I do want to call out the jail as well. The jail was trending significantly higher than the 5-year average and well over 100%. And that was just due to strong boarding revenues. Chart number 3 again looks at the general fund expenses by department. And so all departments are tracking below 100%, except for a few that I just wanted to call out. Auditor, treasurer. So we did some budget adjustments in December, and then we received a bill from the state auditor's office for finishing the budget. So if that was accounted for before those budget adjustments had been done, that wouldn't have made it show over 100%, but it does. And so it's not a concern. You know, those dollars are still within the budget as a whole. The recorder budget is always expected. So we're typically expecting the recorder budget to be over 100% because we are spending those restricted funds with the recorder compliance and the recorder tech equipment fund. So that's really expected. If you look back throughout history, that typically is above 100% just because we're spending those reserves. And then planning and zoning again looks elevated, but that was just due to those additional low income septic grant funds that we received. So we received them in 2025, so our revenue looked extra high, and then we spent them in 2025, so our expenses looked extra high. Same veteran service officers look slightly above budget. However, we received a significant amount of unexpected donations to the Veterans Outreach Fund. And in turn, we had additional expenses out of the Veterans Outreach Fund that weren't accounted for within the budget. So that is not a concern. I do want to note that court security as well. You'll look at it and go, wow, it's not over 100%, but yet it's significantly above the 5-year trend. And that is just because that 5-year trend includes 2021 and 2022. where we didn't have a lot of court security expenses. So we were budgeting for court security, but we didn't have a lot of expenses. So that's not a concern that it's looking significantly above where we have been, because we're staffing that now and we do have people in the building. And then chart number 4 just calls out HHS a little bit separately in their 3 main areas, and then total as a whole. All of those divisions show under 100% spent, and they do show 100% under 100% revenue. But I want to note that HHS operates significantly on a reimbursement basis. So those fourth quarter reimbursements are not yet received. So you'll see those reimbursements jump up there once we get those dollars in from the state through our accrual period. So HHS is looking very strong as we finished the year. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned the boarding numbers in the jail. Is there like a break even number on that, or what's like the target number, and then what are the actual boarding numbers now?
I think the target number has been as much as we can get. You know, we have had a budget number in there, and so for 2025, I believe the budget number was $30,000, and it exceeded over $100,000 in revenues. And as far as boarding, I feel like it changes day to day. You know, sometimes we will have a group of boarders from St. Louis County, and then the next day we don't. So I think it's really kind of hard right now to put a thumb on that.
Like just in like in general, I mean, is there like how many, you know, inmates is like the ideal number to cover for, you know, the justification of having?
I don't know if the sheriff wants to.
Mr. Chair, maybe I could fill in a little bit here. JJ, when we built the jail, you know, it was not uncommon to have probably 60 to 80 Pine County residents in the jail. And then we had commonly 20 to 30 boarders. So that number of that revenue number was, you know, closer to, I think at one time, maybe almost $500,000. But those numbers have tailed off, both in Pine County residents that are in jail and in boarding numbers. And so we kept ratcheting down the budget number to be realistic. So now when our revenue goes up, you know, we are over our budget number, but we are not over our historic since the jail was built, 19, 17, 18 year average, if that makes any sense. You know, we're still quite a bit under that. So the issue I think that we have is that the way our jail is constructed, we have to have roughly the same amount of people, whether or not we have 80 inmates in there or 50 inmates in there. So, you know, if we had 40 or 50 boarders, we would be taking in, you know, do the math on that times whatever our rate is now, $55, $60 a day.
2026.
What is it?
75 for 2026.
$75 times, you know, that number, we'd have a pretty big number. But we don't have that many because jail populations, well, people have built new jails in everywhere from Carlton down to Chisago Lakes, and you know, so there's not as many people looking to board prisoners anymore.
Right. Yeah, it looks like the jail count today was 29.
You want
The-
to, on, Jeff?
I can try to, I guess I don't know exactly what the question is anymore, so.
Okay.
You could restate it, I can fill in some things maybe. And maybe the start of the conversation should be in the strategic planning, there was the conversation of having a deeper dive into the jail. And maybe at that level, we'll have a little better information that we can
Right.
discuss rather than from the hip today, but I'm willing to answer anything that I can.
Did you have a specific question, Commissioner Waldham?
No, I think I got the gist of it. Steve, thank you though for.
Well, it's been a thanks, Jeff, and I think yeah, we're way better served to when we get into a deep dive in it to save all our questions, because I may have spoken out of turn a little bit, but I'm going by memory here.
And I would just like to add that from my experience with everything, nothing public safety is break even. Most of it costs us a lot of money. It's not a business anybody would get into for profits, I guess.
No,
What I would say, because
I think if you look at the you look at the private jail that was built in Lac La Paro County, it didn't operate very long because they couldn't make it.
Yeah, so I don't know if there is a break even point on the jail.
No, and I will say our jail staff and our deputies do a marvelous job. I mean, they do. It'd be a job I would not cherish.
Yep. Okay, anything more on the budget? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to commissioner updates. Highway 23 Coalition.
Okay, I will cover a couple of them together. They moved the date on that one, so it did not fit my schedule. Same way with NLX. I had a conflict with another county meeting. And then maybe if you could add wherever you want to add it, AMC Drainage Conference.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll do that at other.
Great.
So, and then we'll just go down the list for now. So AMC Nuts, Bolts and Boardrooms, that was canceled because they don't have a place to do it right now, or didn't have a place to do it. Zoning Board, looks like that was canceled. Snake River Watershed, that one was canceled. Lakes and Pines.
Lakes and Pines met week later than normal, but you know, there's every month there's a whole bunch of grants to approve, and Lakes and Pines is a CAP agency. They live on grants. That's what they do to provide service to the people that are less fortunate than most of us. And so one of the things that has come about over the last couple of years is a guy named Brad Larson, who was the chairman of Lakes and Pines. He's a banker from North Branch. He is now off the board. He termed out, but he has continued in a voluntary way to try to put together a fundraising activity, because what he's seen on the board is with the volatility of the federal government shutting down, not shutting down, and when they shut down, many of the grant programs that we have, like Head Start and fuel assistance and those kinds of things, if it comes at the wrong time of the year, we don't get our money. And so then we have to lay off. Lakes and Pines has to lay off people. And we're not looking for enough money basically to pay for all the programming that takes place, but to pay for some staff to stay on board and keep the paperwork shuffle going so that when the money does come, they can quickly get the funds to continue the programming. And so that the first fundraising activity is going to take place in April, I believe, at the event center in Braham. And they hope to raise some funds to just help have a fund, because they don't have any other mechanism to raise money. Every one of those grants they get allow for administrative funds, but they don't allow for any excess funds. So that's probably the big thing that came out of that meeting. When I get the information about a typed up thing about the gala or the fundraising event, I'll share it with you.
All right. Thank you. Lower St. Croix.
Lower St. Croix was not held. It will, there were no business, so it was pushed off till the next quarter.
All right, negotiations, we did have a meeting. Got what, a couple rounds in before? I don't know, it seems like we're a little far apart, I guess, but I don't know. I know you and Jackie were gonna have a little bit more correspondence. I don't know if anything's, yeah,
No.
okay. I don't know, you got anything to add?
No, we're working on it.
Yeah.
I mean, we just had our first meeting, really. so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, NLX, you said you didn't make that one either, right?
No.
Okay, Pine County HRA and Economic Development Authority.
Yep, we met on the 28th. Just for I'm gonna just kind of cover stuff that I don't know if I've been so detailed before. I won't be forever, but there's 3 separate buildings that they're managing right now. It's the Sandstone Manor and the Finlayson Manor, and then the new one that they purchased is North Court. So the Sandstone and Finlayson Manors, they did an update there to closing out the year, and so they through November, I should say, through November 2025, the Sandstone Manor and Finlayson Manors, they made $331,787 with a total expense of $195,000. So they had a nice net income of 136 between those two. So on the North Court, of course, that's a recent purchase. There's a loan and stuff. They showed an income of $70,295 with a total expense of $59,924. So the income was like 10,000. So not bad. So that just kind of shows how those things are running. And Kelly gave an update on the investments that they have set aside. And I think right now there's 573,000 in their investments side. So they're doing a good job, and they got involved with a lot of stuff, and they're handling the housing stuff too, the money from the state on that. But other than that, it was not much to add to it was a general meeting. So.
Okay.
So I might as well just go to the next one, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman. So,
Go ahead.
yeah, Central EMS. We met, that was a Zoom meeting, January 30th. The medical director gave his report, and the uptick in the flu is influenza A and B were both really spiking really, really high. And then in the last month now, they're starting to go drop down. So he didn't see much there, but he gave a strong report on they're getting an uptick in training with, or having to deal with the chaos going down in the metro with treating people with tear gas and all the other injuries there. So there's been a lot of vomiting and stuff like that. So they've had a lot of contact there and that stuff thing. So other than that, the EMS coordinator gave her update, and she worked with the we got an update on the Lucas. I think I reported last time where they said you got to be careful using the Lucas device, where that automatic CPR, once they stabilize the patient on the backboard, and it does it fully by machine. And they were having issues with some other injuries that were happening from that machine, but it's still okay to use it, like when you're in a vehicle and you have to be driving and things like that, it's fine to use temporarily, but then you could go back hands-on as soon as you can. Then she was out training on the disaster simulation through the region and mass casualties with patients and stuff like that, kind of lining up with what was going on with rioting down in the cities. And then SimMan use, they're training the trainer stuff on that. They'll use that patient to train other people on CPR and such. So that's pretty much it.
All right. And then Roger, you had another?
Yes. So I attended the AMC put on the drainage conference, and I know we all know this, but maybe the public doesn't fully understand. When we're talking about drainage, we're not talking about just the water that runs on the edges of your road, those sort of ditch type of drainage. We're talking about statutory form drainage, which are county and judicial ditches. Which Pine County doesn't have a lot. We've got less than half a dozen of those that we're part of. But in other counties, they might have 80 or 90 different ditches, and it is their number one issue that they deal with. Again, that'd be probably Western Minnesota, up north and south. But it was a good conference in the sense of ditch law is very old and very complex. And we do need to be, even though we have a few ditches, sometimes, it becomes out of sight, out of mind, but we do need to be following the statutes on those ditches that we do have, particularly when it comes to maintenance and how to deal with that. And I think sometimes our memories are short, but they did reference several times, it's not only statute, but it's case law. And the case law one of the case laws that was referenced was Slama versus Pine County. And it did shape ditch law. So we need to be cognizant of that. Again, that was 20 years ago. Maybe most of you weren't around but I was, and so was Steve.
Yeah.
and it's good to have those refreshers. And I would say that we just need to be diligent in making sure that we are following the law regarding those. We don't want to find ourselves in that sort of predicament again. So I'll just leave it at that for now. So thanks.
Thanks for reminding us.
Thanks for going to that, Roger. It's something that it does get out of sight, out of mind. But it is, there's some, you talk to the guys in Renville County or Rock County, and they got more judicial ditches than they have county roads. And even if you got one ditch, it can rear its ugly head if you don't do things right.
Maybe the one thing I will add, as we're looking, because we're always kind of looking back, but looking forward, they are talking about that they believe in the legislature this year. They're right now, when we come to abandonment of ditches, the only process is a landowner driven, and it has to be a majority, and it's quite cumbersome. But they are looking at a change where it could be by the ditch authority could instigate an abandonment proceeding, which would be a huge change, but would be, I think, very helpful. And so they think the likelihood of that being able to pass is probably more positive than negative. So.
Okay. Well, I know I've been getting schooled a little bit on judicial ditches when I'm on that number 6 one now. So
Yeah.
So, and they're doing a redetermination of benefits there, so that gets
Yeah.
real interesting. So
Yeah.
because most of them were done, I didn't realize it, but most of them were done by a judge.
Right.
That's why they're called judicial ditch. And
Yeah.
yeah. So it was interesting. So, and then I did skip Mille Lacs Bando Ojibwe tribal flag ceremony. Sorry, I crossed it off before we talked about it.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I don't believe any commissioners were able to attend. We did have a nice group of staff that attended. County Attorney Frederickson was able to speak on behalf of the county and did a wonderful job. And it was overall a really great ceremony. If you stop upstairs in the courtrooms, now the tribal flag now flies, is next to the state flag. Yeah, and so it was well attended, I thought, and it was a great ceremony.
Thank you.
Thanks for going. Yep, and thanks Reese for speaking.
All right, is there any other meetings anybody was at? Is there any other come before the county board? Okay, take a peek at your upcoming meetings. There's a few of them on there. And everybody stay warm and we declare the meeting adjourned.